Hi, I'm James from Bellrock. I work with leaders to help them understand the junction of where people meets risk. Today, I'm joined by a good mate and also non-executive director in the aged care space, Chris Catchpole. So Chris, welcome. So great to have you with me, Chris. And look, I'm just going to launch straight into the icebreaker and say, you're at a barbecue.
Yep.
You're with people that don't know the industry or the sector that you work in, and they don't necessarily understand the role of a non-executive director. Someone says, Chris, what do you do? How do you answer that question? I guess it's almost like the elevator pitch, for want of a better term.
Yeah, well, I guess I see my role as overseeing what the organisation's doing and asking questions to make sure that the management team and the organisation are using their money appropriately, that they're providing good care for the residents,
Yeah.
and making sure that they're meeting the standards that they should be meeting from a compliance point of view.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, but I like what you're saying there about, at the end of the day, I think you said that you're wanting to make sure that the decisions you make as a board are in the best interests of the residents so that they get the best possible care outcome. Because I think, without being, how would you say it, smart about it, aged care is not a super sexy industry or anything like that in Australia. But if we think about where things are going in the future, it's going to be a huge and extremely important sector to all of us as we age.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, and that's one of the things I see myself in 20 or 30 years using those types of services. And so I want to make sure that when I get there to that point, there are good services out there. But it's definitely, there's a bit of a tension between providing high quality services and doing it with the funding that's available. So that's a real challenge.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm assuming, because you guys run a residential facility, so you've got to now have a mandatory RN on staff at all times. Is that on shift all?
Yeah.
At all times?
So there's obviously on the back of the Commission's recommendations, there's been some changes in terms of how we deliver care, and also the particular standards, and making sure that we're engaging with the residents, and they have a particular say in how their care gets delivered, and it's I think there's lots of challenges, but meeting the needs of the residents and those expectations, I think just across all industries, there's been a real shift in the last 10 or 15 years with people's expectations, and certainly aged care is not dissimilar to that.
Well, let's roll with that and segue in. So is that if you're talking about what are the biggest challenges that the sector faces, is that what else other than that, or where are the things, I guess, what are the things that keep you awake at night when you think about the challenges for that sector?
Yeah, well, you mentioned some of the staffing, making sure that we've got those ratios, and certainly attracting people. It's not necessarily a sexy industry, and so attracting appropriately qualified staff that want to work in aged care. There's probably some work that the government needs to do around how much people get paid in the sector and how that's funded, because certainly to, as I said, attract good staff that are appropriately qualified, that are skilled to work in that area is definitely a challenge. And so that's one thing. I think the compliance issues that organisations now need to meet, obviously we want a really high standard of care, but that can be quite an administration burden to make sure that you're doing all your audits and checking up, and which is necessary, but then if it's not funded appropriately, we're seeing there's a lot of strain in some of the smaller facilities trying to maintain their staffing levels appropriately, maintain that level of care, and still be able to run the business. Even though a lot of them are not for profit, you still obviously need to be above the red line.
Well, I guess it's no different with a not-for-profit. You still want to be returning a surplus, even if you're not returning a profit, because otherwise it's indicating that you're running inefficiently.
Yeah, that's right. And then you need those surpluses to reinvest in your staff, in education and training, to maintain your facilities, to upgrade things. And further to that, I mean, there's a big interplay between the healthcare system and aged care. There's a lot of people waiting for aged care beds, which then backflows into the hospital system. People are waiting that don't need to be in acute care. That sometimes get sick because they're waiting in a hospital with other sick people around them. So there's those challenges. I think the standards are really good now. The aged care
quality standards.
The sort of level of care that's required. I'm really comfortable with. I chair our clinical governance committee, and so we look at that standard of care regularly. But as I said, having enough staff to oversee all of that as well as deliver the care with the current funding model is definitely a challenge. And I think probably the other challenge is that people really don't want to go into aged care facilities. They want to stay in their own home.
Like residential,
at-home support services. And I think there's a real shortage of that at the moment. So there's people really struggling at home, waiting for packages, waiting for care. And then there's others that are kind of almost being forced to go into residential aged care facilities to live because they just can't get that support at home. So that's definitely a challenge for the sector.
Okay, that's fascinating insights, Chris, and it's really interesting to hear about these aged care quality standards. And there's a lot of, I think you hear a lot of negativity in the public, or certainly from organisations, about the aged care quality standards. But look, it's great to hear that you think they're a good thing and that they're ultimately, hopefully, doing what they're meant to do, which is driving a better quality of care outcome for the residents or the people. And I mean, but just before we jump over to the last question, what I wanted to cover is, obviously you're a physiotherapist by trade or by background. What motivated you, of all the other things that you could have done, what motivated you to want to be a physio or go and study physiotherapy rather than, I don't know, medicine or commerce or business or something like that? Law.
Well, I was going to study law.
And
when I was in year 11, I was, year 10, I was 6 foot tall. And then at the start of year 11, I was 6'4".
Nice.
So
and by the way, what are you now? Six?
No.
Yeah, 6'5". 6'5". Yeah, okay.
I've probably shrunk. I'm back to 6'4". But I grew 10 centimetres in like 6 weeks. And
that's insane.
I know. Had a sore back and was playing cricket. And it was a bit like Bruce Reed, going to snap in half. off the long run, and I ended up seeing a really good physio, and so that sort of piqued my interest in that. And I've always been sort of involved in sport and things like that. So that's how I got in.
Oh right, that. Okay, yeah. And when you look back now, because I mean I think you and I've talked about this before. I got the marks to get into law, but I didn't go that way because I wanted to do some basket weaving, environmental science sort of course, but a lot of I was going to say it definitely suits me, and it also part of it was probably about whatever my parents wanted me to do. I wanted to do the opposite. And so was there any of that in physio, or your dad and your family was behind you going to study that?
No, they were happy for me to do that. I had to move away to do that, so that was just more the financial challenge of supporting myself away to go to uni. But other than that, everyone was happy with that.
Nice, because it was a big move. Because was it Western Australia to Canberra to Sydney? Is that what it was?
Yeah, when I was little, I lived in Western Australia, and then we did most of my schooling in Canberra. And then for uni went up to Sydney.
Wow. Okay. Oh, great to hear. All right. So last question, and I guess this is probably the most personal, or potentially the most personal one. So, if you were writing a note to yourself, your younger self, what would be 3 things you'd put in that note that you wish you knew as a a young adult that you know now? Like business, personal, whatever, a bit of mix, just whatever feels right.
Look, I think relationships are really key. It doesn't matter what industry you work in. And I think when I was younger, I was very much wanted to, complete the task, get it done, move on to the next thing. I was very organised. I liked getting work completed. And probably one of the things that I didn't understand is why, like after a meeting, people would be standing around chatting for so long. And I think now I can recognise that, that networking and establishing relationships is really important, particularly when you're wanting to collaborate and get things done. you know, if you ask a friend to do something for you, they're generally going to go out of their way to help you rather than a stranger. And so I think the stronger your relationships are, the easier it is to get work done and to collaborate. So I think, relationships, doesn't matter what industry you're in, they're really key.
Yep.
The second thing I probably would say is I was probably a little bit reluctant when I was younger to put my hand up to do things, unless I felt like I was really confident and knew all the answers. But I think, you know, I can really see the value in people without all the answers, asking questions. And so I think having that mix of people, subject matter experts and people that probably don't understand the full gamut of what you're trying to do, but are asking questions, can really inform the full picture. So I would encourage people to put their hand up more, have a go and be involved in things. Certainly there were probably opportunities when I was younger that I didn't take that I could have taken and added some value, just even because I didn't know everything. And then I guess the third thing is now as I head towards 50 and are being more discretionary in my efforts, I would say when you're younger, you've got so much energy. You know, you can burn the candle at both ends and you can be a bit of an animal and put lots of effort into things. And I think there's probably opportunity for younger people to do that, to really have a go and work hard, and then when they get older, not work as hard. And so I think that would be my advice, work harder when you're younger.
I like it. And I totally agree with you on the other 2 points as well, particularly I always say relationships are currency, like it's particularly in business, like your relationships and your networks are absolutely that you live and breathe by those. I know it's a grandma cliche, but it is absolutely, it's not what you know, it's who you know when it comes to really making business success, I think, over the long term. And then, absolutely, I think I don't think that youthful enthusiasm should be understated, because it's like, you've got limitless energy in your 20s, so you might as well really get out there and have a crack. And then the only point, which you gave me a massive kind of segue into the risk and governance thing without even meaning to there. And then the second point there about saying, you know, don't be afraid to have a go even when you don't have all the information. That's really talking about risk appetite and being able to understand, look, I might have enough information to be able to contribute or at least, you know, make an effort. But I think it's interesting, a lot of people I've interviewed in this series so far have talked about that aspect of not feeling the confidence or feeling like they need to hold themselves back when they were younger, and maybe they should have just kind of leapt and hoped for the best a little bit more, because it's, you know, it's not as though that if they make one wrong career decision in their 20s, it's not the end of their career.
That's right.
You can, there's, you know, a million different ways you can go. So, excellent.
As long as you're not causing harm.
No, that's right. That's right. I was going to say, it's not, there's so many places you and I could go there, but most of them probably don't belong on social media videos. But yeah, I think, it's just interesting that what I've noticed is there's these common themes that most of us, because, you know, whether they're ladies or men, everyone I'm noticing, especially because I guess we're all in our 40s and 50s that I've been interviewing for this series, everyone seems to be focused on saying, you know, prioritise your time, understand relationships and value relationships more. Have a go even if you're feeling a little bit nervous and all those sort of things. I just think it's interesting that those consistent themes are coming out for all of us, because certainly what you said, those 3 things would be pretty similar to what I would probably put in my letter to myself. So look, thank you so much for joining me. Hopefully it hasn't been too much of a torturous experience for you.
It's been fun.
Yeah, good. All right, well look, thanks again, and hopefully we'll look forward to continuing this conversation in the future, Chris.
Thanks, mate.
Yeah.
Cheers.